9 days ago, this account was sitting around $115,000. Today, it's sitting at just over $129,000. And honestly, this update feels completely different than the others that I've done so far for my brokerage account journey that I'm showing you guys. Not because the number itself is insane to me. There are obviously people with much bigger brokerage accounts than this, but mentally, this is the first time where the account stopped feeling like something that I'm manually building and it started feeling like something that is actually starting to work on its own. I was very surprised to see these numbers when I opened up my phone today and obviously extremely happy. That's the weird shift that I've been noticing lately. Before we get into this video though, as always, quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. My name's Eric. Welcome to my channel. I'm just documenting my real journey, my real numbers, and how this process actually feels as I build towards $200,000 in this brokerage account and eventually $1 million. Now, here's what's been messing with my head lately, right? A few years ago, if I wanted my net worth to jump significantly, it had to come directly from me, right? More work, more side hustles, more hours, more overall grinding. If I wanted another $5,000 invested, I had to go make another $5,000 doing whatever it was that I was doing. Now I'm watching the market move this portfolio by thousands of dollars in a single day. And that is a completely different feeling psychologically. Recently, this account moved almost $5,000 in one day. And I remember staring at it thinking, that's more than a lot of people can realistically contribute over several months, or some people even a year. And honestly, I think that was the first moment where compounding actually felt real to me emotionally instead of just mathematically, right? Because when your account is smaller, every contribution feels like the main driver of that account. Every deposit feels extremely important, but once the account reaches a certain size, the market itself starts becoming the bigger contributor than your actual deposits. And yes, I am still contributing a lot to the account, but that changes your mindset completely. Now, obviously, I'm still contributing aggressively, like I just said. I'm still investing consistently every single week, every single month. That part has not changed at all. But now the market itself is starting to do some of the heavy lifting too. And honestly, I think that this is the exact phase where investing starts becoming addictive for some people because you stop looking at money as something you save and you start looking at it as something that can actually produce money on its own. Crazy to think that, right? Now, if we look at what's actually driving this brokerage account higher right now, semiconductors and tech are still carrying a huge part of the load on this account. SMH had an insane move recently, up almost 5% in a single day, and that position alone added over $12,000. QQQ continued climbing hard, VGT kept pushing higher, and even VTI had a strong move upward. Those are all holdings I have in this account, and this is exactly why I've stayed aggressive with growth while I'm still in what I'll call accumulation mode, right? I know some people would probably look at this portfolio, this brokerage account, and say, I should already be shifting more conservative. But honestly, I still feel like I'm in building. I'm still in the early phases of this. I'm not trying to preserve wealth yet. I'm trying to create momentum. And I think there's a big difference between those two things. Now, one thing I've also noticed during this phase is that larger portfolios create larger emotions. When the account was smaller, red days didn't really bother me much. But now a 1% move can mean several $1,000s in either direction, up or down. And that changes how things feel mentally because suddenly the swings are big enough to trigger emotion. And honestly, I think that this is probably the phase where a lot of people mess themselves up. Because once the portfolio starts moving fast, people get overconfident. They start trying to outsmart the market. They start taking unnecessary risk because momentum makes them feel invincible. They think that they can't lose. That's something I'm trying to actively avoid right now because I know the goal is not to have one crazy year. The goal is to build something that compounds for decades for me and changes my life. Now, another thing I've been thinking about lately is how strange it feels watching money actually work. That's honestly the best way that I can describe it. Like you have a bunch of little workers just working for you. This brokerage account is now generating over $1,100 per year in dividends. That's roughly $94 a month ish. Now, obviously, that's not replacing income yet. And that's not the point. The point is realizing that the account itself is producing money whether I touch it or not. And when you combine that with market growth, it starts feeling less like a savings account and more like a machine. That's probably the biggest mental shift happening right now with this account for me. This account no longer feels static. It honestly feels alive. And one thing I really want to highlight in this update is the outperformance against the S&P 500. Right now, this brokerage account is outperforming the S&P 500 by almost $9,000 year to date. If you look up here on the screen, that's a massive difference. And honestly, it reinforces something I've believed for a while now. Concentration can massively accelerate growth. Now, obviously, concentration also increases volatility. I fully understand that, and I'm prepared for the risk of that. But this is why I've leaned harder into positions like QQQ, SMH, VGT, instead of trying to build an ultra conservative portfolio or brokerage account too early. I am still young enough to recover from volatility. I'm 41. I'm still in growth mode. I'd rather deal with bigger swings now while I'm building that than regretting being too conservative later. Now, what's really interesting is how different the road to 200,000 feels compared to $100,000. That first 100,000, honestly, it felt really slow at times. It felt like every gain took forever. Every contribution felt like it barely moved the needle on the account. And I felt like I was just grinding. Now, 200,000 actually feels realistic. Not guaranteed, but realistic. And I think that's because momentum really changes everything. Once the brokerage account reaches a certain size, every percentage move matters, and it matters more and more and more. Every contribution matters more. Everything starts stacking faster. And honestly, I think this is the exact phase where people finally understand why wealthy investors stay invested through times of volatility. Because now the brokerage account itself is capable of doing some serious work. Now, moving forward, nothing really changes strategically for me. I always say that. I'm pretty much just going to stay the course. I'm still investing as aggressively as I possibly can, still focused on quality growth positions, still staying heavily invested in this account, and still trying to stay emotionally disciplined because honestly, I think discipline becomes even more important once momentum really starts building in the account. Now, if you got value from this update, hit the like button so this reaches more people like you, and drop a comment below. Have you ever hit a point where investing started feeling real to you emotionally? If you want to follow this journey, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next update.